How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? It's LorOnline here again today with another video, and today myself and SWTORCentral are going to be basically going through RP and PvP in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and of course what we'd like to see for the new year. Now guys, I'd really appreciate it if you could check out SWTORCentral's channel, it's in the description, and of course, I hope you enjoy. So sit back, relax, and prepare for some serious Star Wars content. You set to do this now? All good?
Yeah, sure.
This is a much smaller section, PvP. I think PvE was sort of the biggest one. You had everything in there. PvP content's a much smaller video. And the question is now, do we have it all as one video, or shall we split it into multiple?
I reckon it might be a good idea to split them now. I was all for doing it in one, but I think Louise is going to interrupt us again.
That's all right. That's right, I'm preparing now. Everything's set. I've got like a system set up for all forms of potential interruptions. Okay. Well, the last one was only like 30 minutes long. We weren't doing too bad, considering that was the main topic. So, now we're moving on to PvP content. This is like the touchy area that I don't really do much in. I'm sure you're sort of the same with it. I mean, you do duels every now and again, but no, PvP is not my sort of forte. But ultimately, this is the main sort of topic for PvP. Balance. Of course, all of us know that SWTOR's PvP has had balance issues across the board. Various times, it's been various classes, and it just seems to just change all the time. But from your perspective, do you think PvP has ever been balanced?
I don't think it has been balanced, but to be honest, I also don't think it ever will be balanced. Simply because in the type of MMO that this game is, right, with the tab targeting, your global cooldowns, that kind of thing, I think it's going to be really difficult to balance it. Like, really balance it well. I mean, to be fair, they've done a pretty good job with 5.0. PvP definitely feels a lot more rounded, I guess, is for lack of better words there. PvP feels more fun. There's more of the community engaging with it now, I think for that same reason. But I don't think it ever will be balanced to a point where everybody's going to be satisfied with it, because another factor that does come in with this is that the balancing does have to satisfy the players, and the players are pretty much never satisfied with the balancing. One thing gets buffed, and then the next one gets nerfed, and then this one gets buffed, and then no one's happy with what's happening. It's like, well, you nerfed this one, but you needed to nerf that one, and you didn't. But then you buffed that one, and that didn't even need a buff. That's just way too OP. And now you've removed phase walk, and I can't use flamethrower for some reason, and I'm just really mad at you, Bioware.
Yeah, no, it's accurate. I think I'm coming from the exact sort of place that you come from, actually, with that, in the sense that I actually have a move I despise and I've always despised. The Sork Bubble. I will forever hate that stupid move. The amount of times in PvP I've been like stunned and they're like, Sork Bubble, and I go, duff. And then I just have to get a bat out, then I go to their house IRL, I break their car, and then just look up at them and then just go, how's your Sork Bubble now? And then I walk away. I hate that Sork Bubble. It's just a 4-second immunity. Okay.
It's OP.
It is. It's ridiculous. It's just in duels as well. They're about to lose, and then they're suddenly like, bubble.
They should remove it for every single discipline except the healing discipline.
That's perfect. That's what I want them to do, because it makes sense on a healer. It doesn't make sense on a DPS suddenly just becoming immortal.
See, what they should do, right? They should sacrifice it, right? They will get rid of force barrier for lightning and madness, and they will give force storm back for 6 seconds. And then on the healer discipline, you'll have force storm for 3 seconds and no force, and with a force barrier.
Right. So we should become devs, is what I'm hearing, because we've just fixed PvP.
And while we're at it, we're gonna give sorcerers stealth.
Yeah. In fact, I think if anything, we should just give Sith warriors the ability to one-shot, like a crit move. The jump, the charge. Yeah, just double backflips, and then you use like a special you press double tap 3 instead of single tap, and you explode into like 1,000 Sith warriors, and then you just all of them smash.
Now we're talking.
Oh, that's perfect. That would add so much balance, because then there would be no one who could verse a Sith warrior. Therefore, everyone would be Sith warriors.
Exactly. There's your balancing right there.
Yeah,
we could just remove 15 classes from the game and just keep one class, and then there you go. The game's balanced.
That's what we want. So there we are, Bioware. You have 2 employees right here. Perfect, I feel, for the job. So yes, We've answered most of the balance questions actually. How can Bioware further balance PvP? We've answered that. What from your perspective is broken PvP? Well, Sork Bubble for me, and for you, what do you think broke?
Broken PvP. I'm gonna go with something really dodgy here, right? And I'm not gonna say something like mechanics wise, and I'm gonna say the community of the PvP in this game, right? No, I'm serious. Like
They are
before
broke.
5.0,
Yeah.
right? The community for PvP was toxic, right? I know it's going to be
Oh,
this
it
way,
is.
like
Well, you're on
forever,
Reddit
and probably
clips
for
though.
every MMO, right?
Yeah, but you're on
But
Reddit
it was
clips.
toxic, it was hazy, it was small, it was tight. You know, it wasn't welcoming. It was probably the worst community in the
Yes.
the worst aspect of the community that I've seen in this game ever, and in any other game that I've played ever. But now with 5.0, with more people engaging, it's kind of better. It's loosened up, But
it's not as bad.
before that,
Yeah.
whew,
Well,
Jesus.
the fact to take into account is you're on the Reddit clips. I mean, that is a very toxic PvP server.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, probably the worst of the worst
Yeah.
in terms of toxicity and PvP. I mean, I have this one person on our server on the Ebon Hawk, or I won't say names so they don't get picked on, but they are always saying, "Bruh, you can't even lift 12k." I'm like, "Whoa, are you at the gym lifting these DPS? Crazy." And it's every match, but he's always queued for war zones. Like, he has no job, no life, no anything. He's just queued in war zones and says that trigger line all the time, and it's why I can't PvP. I got to like Valor 53 or something, then just quit. Because you have this one guy who's always like criticizing everyone's DPS.
That's
And
it.
it's those players, it's them. If I could like just delete them from the game on every server.
It's like most of the, well, I won't say most, but because of the ranked community before 5.0 was very, very,
Yes.
very small, right?
It
Probably on
was.
every server.
Yeah. It's
And
tiny.
what they would complain about the most, or at least one of the things they would complain about the most, putting aside 8 versus 8, is the fact that there isn't enough people queuing. You know, queues aren't popping often. You can be in the queue for like an hour for something ranked.
2 hours.
Like, I can understand that might be some fault to the game, you know, obviously because they're not doing enough to engage people with that kind of feature in the game. But at the same time, you as a community need to just sort of be not a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody new joins ranked for like first time, because there is going to be a first time for somebody joining ranked.
Always. Yes.
And if they're terrible, so what? Like, who cares, right? Especially if it's solo ranked, you knew what you were getting into as soon as you queued solo.
Exactly. So when you get wrecked,
solo.
Yeah, you can't blame the rest of the team.
That's it.
Exactly. So yeah, you toxic players out there, play nice. All right. So there's balance. That's a pretty important topic, and we've covered it. We did some, that was the no-go zone, I think, for this video, but we did it. We cleared it. So moving on for PvP, class differentiation. To you, do you think PvP is fun? Do you think there's a lot of variety in PvP, or do you think it's all the same dots, crits? That's it. Same old, same old.
It's definitely the same old stuff, right? But at the same time, it is fun. But what's probably the most fun is when you have like just one of those big battles. Like, let's say you're on one of the maps where you've got 3 nodes, and each team both has 1 node, and they're just fighting at middle. Yeah. And it's just like that throughout the entire match, and nobody's capping middle like at all, and you're completely even throughout the entire thing. It's just been this massive war. You've been getting so much damage. You've got a really good healer with you. You've got a tank. I love those PvP
the Alderon
matches.
Map, sort of that center.
Yeah,
under the turret.
Yeah, I could do that all day. I don't know what it is about it. I just love having that like all-out battle
Getting
there.
them achievements as well. That is always fun. It's like, you've done this amount of healing, you've done this amount of DPS, you tanked this bad. It's like, there we go. But yeah, it is fun when you get situations like that. So ultimately, do you think then PvP is different for each class, or do you think it's the same overall?
Well, for the example here that I've got, Operative Healer versus the Merc Healer.
Yes.
It's going to be the same simply because they're mirror classed.
Yeah.
No, wrong way around there. Well, Merc Healer is mirror classed to Commando Healer.
Yes. So they're similar in the sense that they're both.
They are going to be similar. Like, completely just lost my train of thought there because I got the wrong comparison. But hey,
but you're back on track. You're back on track. Train of thought here. All right. Yeah. So,
is it different per class? I think yes. And with 5.0, like, I know I keep saying this with 5.0, but they have changed a fair few things with the classes. And obviously one of the things they did with character creation is where now you just choose from one of the 8 different advanced classes rather than the base class.
Yes.
And what this has actually done is proven that they're trying to actually differentiate the classes, and not just the classes, but the discipline paths at the same time. Hence, they removed like things like flamethrower and phase walk, things like that. They're differentiating everything and just trying to make each class unique.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, I think maybe not entirely different per class. You know, it is pretty much going to be like the same thing. You know, you're either in bear spec, or you're in dot spec, or you're in heal spec, or you're in AoE spec, or you're in some sort of super OP mercenary, reflecting, absorbing shield. Screw you.
Yeah. Some really overpowered spec, the god spec.
Yeah. That's it.
I completely agree. There is actually a lot of differentiation between the classes, and in most MMOs this is a problem. In World of Warcraft you have a lot of copy and paste. One of the biggest issues with WoW, everyone is basically the same thing, except for druids, but they've been nerfed into the floor. So ultimately, it's the same game, no matter who you play. All the moves are so similar. Even with Legion, they changed the animations, but they didn't change the moves, so it's like everyone is the same thing. Elder Scrolls Online is very similar because anyone can be anything, so everyone is the same thing. But in Star Wars, there is a good amount of differentiation between the classes, and I really like that. So, do you actually think that there is a unique move sets that could make classes stand out? Any unique moves that come to mind that you feel improves classes significantly? Of course, you were mentioning the phase walk, but they just removed. But do you think there's any moves that you feel stand out of the current existing pool?
I'm going to use the new Ravage that we have.
Oh, yeah.
Versus previously, it was a casted ability. You stand there for 3 seconds and you dish out a shit ton of damage. Now you just kind of press it and you deal out a shit ton of damage without needing to stand there for 3 seconds.
It's perfect. Yeah.
That is definitely a unique move because that is melee mobility on the move. That's like the mobility of a Marauder, but on a Juggernaut.
Exactly. It's really cool.
That is really good. I really like that.
All right. I'm gonna throw in an Imperial Operative move here that I've always liked. I like the Colto probes. I know that sounds incredibly simple, but on an Operative healer, it is very different to most MMOs because you can just put a Colto probe on someone and leave them, so they just get healed. You don't have to worry about them. But then again, you have to always refer back to them and put another Colto probe on them if it drops it. And I always like that about an Operative healer because you can just sit somewhere, throw probes on everyone, and then just run off. Come back later, throw probes on everyone. So you can go and, like, if you're doing PvP and you need to go grab an objective, throw probes on everyone, leg it, cap the point, run back, just throw probes back on everyone, and usually everyone's still alive, which is always really fun. So it's moves like that, and you can't do that with a Merc Healer because you got to, stand there to throw the AoE. You can't just dot an ally. And I really like that about the Operative Healer. It makes that class stand out a lot to me. So
something I actually never understood about Colto probes, right?
Oh yeah.
Is with things like Mercenary and Commander, right? They've got their Colto shell ability, but they only get that if they're in the heal spec, right?
Yes.
And so the only other heal moves that they would have in a damage spec is just like the normal cast times.
Yes.
But with an Operative, it's different. If you're in a damage spec, you still have Colto probes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But why would you still have your Colto probes?
Yeah, that's
because mercenaries, commanders, they don't keep Colto shells in a damage spec.
Yeah, and it's based off mastery now, isn't it? The amount of heal it does.
Yeah.
So you can actually be a healer as a DPS.
You can be in concealment, or you can be in what I can't remember what the other one's called. Is it lethality?
Lethality.
And you can still use Colto probes.
Wow, that is cool.
And there you go.
I
think
know that.
That's something really weird. I think they should take them off damage dealers.
Now you've said it like that, that is a bit broken. I always thought that the Operative healers just distinctly had the advantage with Colto probes. But if you can just go lethality spec, and it's based off masteries now because you don't have to get certain specific stats for healers. You can just throw them down. That's kind of broken. I wonder if anyone's picked up on that.
Oh yeah, it's always been there.
Wow, I always thought it was a cool little distinctive thing. When I run PvP, I'm always really proud of my Colto probes. I have high alkrility though, so not a lot of people don't build that. Altricity or
Alacrity.
Alacrity, yes. Not many people build that. I don't do much PvP now, as you can probably tell. But yes, back in the day, I did used to do it a lot. So, moving on from class differentiation, there is a fair bit, I will agree. What do you think about new content in PvP? What can they add to PvP overall to improve it, do you think? Any new sort of maps or new game modes or new things like that?
I mean, new maps, new game modes is always going to be something that's going to be welcome.
Yes.
I think 4v4s are cool. I think having some more 4v4 maps, or even like 6v6 maps.
Yeah.
Or even bigger scale war zones.
I'd
maybe
like
something like 16 versus 16.
Yeah,
32 players. Maybe it's just an all-out team deathmatch.
that would be
I'd like to
cool.
see something like that because we actually don't have that
We
in
don't.
PvP.
I mean, yeah, there's
Nothing
open
just like a
world,
team deathmatch.
but
That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, exactly. I'd like to see that. I mean, there is open world, which I really like them. I'd like them to encourage that more, because that is sort of what you're saying with like having a huge amount of players in one thing. But there's no point to it because you don't get Warzone comms really.
Yeah,
You get titles, but there's not
and
much
this is
incentive.
something that I did bring up with Musker, and I mentioned like performance issues to him because I'm sure you'll know on Ilum, if there's like 50 people in one area trying to battle it out, you're probably going to get like 10 FPS or something.
Yeah.
It's not very well optimized, the game, and we all know that. And
Yes.
Musker did say in the interview that that is actually something that they're not really working on or trying to encourage. Probably, I'm not going to like quote him there. You probably didn't say that exactly, but what I got from him is that
You got
they're
that
not really going
impression.
to be
Okay.
encouraging that kind of stuff. So,
Yes.
which is
So
disappointing,
it is.
but we
It
can sort
is.
of understand why because of the game engine. But that's not our
Yeah.
fault.
Do you remember? I don't know exactly how long you've been playing Star Wars. Like, when did you get into it? It was around the first year, wasn't it? 4 years after?
Mid 2012, so
Mid
around
2012.
5, 6 months after the launch, something
Okay.
like that.
So you're in around then. Do you remember? I'm not sure if you were around then because it was sort of a launch thing. But do you remember Alderon's PvP?
Um, I was definitely participating in some Alderaan PvP at some point, but I don't
Yes.
remember it being like big or anything like that.
There was a huge order. Basically, there's like a valley you can go through, and there's a heroic four on these
Yeah, yeah,
floating islands. But yeah, you know where that is. And basically, there's the world boss under it. You used to have a lot of people going for the world boss around the time of launch, probably a month afterwards, and you'd get
yeah.
guilds of PvP purely to fight in Alderaan near that world boss, and you'd usually get something like 200, 100. It was the limit. It was the instance cap, so it was around 120 or whatever that was before the second instance came, and you'd have full out like wars in the PvP there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was no achievements and legacies, so none of this was recorded. But if you go on YouTube and like look up Alderaan PvP, proper events, there is so much of it, and there are even people who were like recreating wars there to sort of bring back Alderaan PvP. It was such a big deal in the day, and I feel that they should. Unfortunately, yeah, Eric Musko did say that he's not going back to sort of give it another shot, and that's not what they're aiming to do now. But I'd really like to see some more open world PvP.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It would. And ultimately, then moving on to the last question for PvP, any new game modes that you can actually think of that you feel should be added to the Warzone listing, or maybe a new way that they can improve Warzones?
Well, first off, I just want to throw out that I think you should be able to duel anywhere, including on the fleet.
Oh yeah.
But just moving on past that, what New game modes would we like to see?
Ooh, the
I
suspense.
think football, right? I'm
Yep.
not going to say bring us another football, but maybe something similar to
Uh,
football, right?
yep.
So think of during football, obviously you pick up the ball, you carry it over a line, that's it, right? Then you score,
Ooh, yep.
right?
That's pretty much it.
So how about a system where there's actually two balls, right? And let's say they're flags, right?
Yes.
Basically capture the flag is
Capture
where
the
I'm going
flag.
with
Okay.
this.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it would be a bigger map, maybe like 10 versus 10, and it would be like actual obstacles rather
Oh,
than
that would be
just
cool.
clear the map and get to the other side.
Yeah. All
And
right.
it would actually you would actually need to work as a team. If somebody picks up the flag, then you need to actually circle them and protect them on the way back to take it back to your own base. I don't know, maybe something like
Oh,
if
something
the
like that.
person with the flag is being attacked, they can't move or something. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah, yeah. No, that sort of thing would be really
But
cool.
they receive like 500k health. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe something
Some
like that.
crazy thing.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I can see where you're going with it. Sort of capture the flag game, and I think is a big must for sort
Yes.
of the listing. What I'd like to sort of see them do maybe is sort out the listings for game modes because there are some times when I've queued for PvP and I haven't wanted to do Hutball, but I have no
Yeah.
choice. So
Yeah.
they need to definitely add like a UI for Hutball, you know, Warzone battles,
Yeah.
and then
Queue for which type of game mode you want to do.
yeah,
Especially with
that's it.
4v4s, because some people really hate doing 4v4. There,
Yeah,
4 versus
I
4.
do. Sometimes I'm not ready for it. I'm like, okay, just a little fun game. Oh shit, it's 4v4. I have to go game face now. It's all about me. It's like yeah, they suddenly put a lot of pressure on you. So that's it for PvP. Do you feel we've covered everything there? Definitely talked about a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can just throw in pretty much something from what you said earlier. Let's just enforce it, right?
Yeah,
GSF, more PvP on that front, but in a sense of around guild chips and stuff.
yeah. Oh, I'd like to see that. I'd really like to see that. I feel it's something the game has the potential to have, but doesn't. is something that definitely needs to be in there, or some form of single player, space battles using that non-rail system, but in a non-context to PvP. So anyway, moving on to RP/immersive content in general. This is a big part of the game at the moment. We have covered this lightly, but I think now we need to go into detail with it here. So to start off with, Strongholds. Current housing choices, of course, are Droman Karst, Coruscant. You have the Tatooine Stronghold, Yavin, and Nar Shaddaa. That's it. What stronghold would you like to see in the future? Now, we've talked about this off camera.
Yeah.
But we haven't actually mentioned it. So what do you think?
Okay, so I'm just going to put the Manan one aside, right?
Okay, yeah, put that one aside.
One that I would really like to see in the game, since I played Knights of the Eternal Throne, is the Zakuul penthouse.
Oh,
now, we've already done spoilers alerts, so I guess we're going to be kind of fine talking about this.
Yeah.
Valen's penthouse. Just imagine, right? They just go into that area. Yeah. They just remove all the NPCs, all the animals and stuff lying around, all the decor, and that's it. Just give it to you. There you go. Have fun. That is a huge, huge place. Balconies, that'd be freaking awesome. And how about, right, even a system where on your balcony, right, you can just have a taxi pad and you can just leave your stronghold and just go straight to the main area of Zakuul.
Oh, that'd be cool. Something like that. I'd also like, if they are going to do that as well, I know this is probably a bit more of an ask, but it'd be cool if they could do like the animations of the taxi flying through Zakuul, and that's something they don't do now. They have it like it goes fade to black and then you appear in your zone. But I'd like them to sort of maybe have it so you actually fly through Zakuul and bring it into perspective a little bit more. But yeah, that's a really cool idea. I haven't thought about Valen Stronghold that way. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, my idea was to have a Rishi Stronghold. I've wanted it since Shadow of Revan. I've been crying my heart out for it on the forums. But I'd love to have sort of a pirate base on Rishi, like in the upper district, on like the higher levels. You can look down at like the leveling zone where everyone's like sort of questing, and you can sort of sit up there and maybe see the players. I know it's sort of hard to implement, but the way instances work is you can have it so you can see outside the instance. So wouldn't it be cool if you could look down and see players leveling from your like house walk bridge or something?
That'd be cool.
Something like that, so like the upper levels of Rishi, and if not that, maybe a Hutter stronghold, because of course, imagine having your own Kraga's palace or your own sort of Jabba the Hutt's mansion, that sort of thing I think would be pretty damn cool.
Absolutely. I mean, on Rishi as well, people are always speculating around this, is that in the far scenery on Rishi, you can actually see stronghold type buildings. Yeah. And people are always like, that's totally going to be a Rishi stronghold at some point. Because they would be so far out, but there'd be so much like detail in the textures.
Yeah, they did them. Yeah. They have all these
They should have just made those strongholds, right?
They should
have. Why not?
They've got so many potential nice textures. And that's another thing, of course, with housing items. There are so many textures in the game that you can't actually put into your house. Whilst Elder Scrolls Online's planning on doing player housing soon. And they've set up everything. They said they're going to basically use every texture they've got. And they're going to throw it into housing. Why can't SWTOR do that? They have so many nice textures, but they only put a few of them into housing. I don't really understand that, because it doesn't take that much effort to make something
Here's a good thing for you to know then, and then also everybody watching, is that if you do have something that you want to be a decoration, then always put it on the suggestion box forum, because when I was talking to Muska about this and how they deal with like suggestions and stuff, decorations is definitely something they really do bring to the game.
Yeah, so that is something, yeah.
Yeah, like he gave me an example of, somebody would say on the forums, I saw this light hanging on the wall in an operation and I want that in my stronghold. And they would be like, oh yeah, cool. That totally should be in a stronghold. Let's put that in a game.
Yeah, so that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think personally, if I could ask for a specific decor, I'd really like to see a green screen. That's just me.
Yes.
Because videos, the amount of times I wanted to put my character in something and I've had to like stand myself, like when I do the holo com things in my videos where I have Bobertos come up as like a hologram ghost, I have to basically have him go to Droman Karst and stand up against the black wall and have a black screen instead of a green screen, and it's never as good quality. I just want them to throw a green screen in there so I can have like a green background on my wall and I can put all my characters in videos with ease. And not have to struggle as much as I do. So it would really help video creators having a green screen. Right.
Definitely.
So that's it. That's Strongholds in general. We have answered every question in one. I was a bit generic with that one. So we can move on to emotes now. Of course, we've talked about the current system for emotes, but what would we like to see in the future for emotes?
Ooh.
So is there a specific one you have in mind? I mean, of course, there are the odd toys, like you've got the Kylo Ren slashing lightsaber one against the console, but there are any emotes you'd like to see that could maybe improve the game?
I think so. More social ones are just silly ones
Silly
because
ones, no
I've
bones.
always said that SWTOR could use a little bit more silly, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it always
You
could.
know, I don't know, like juggling fire.
That's
So
oh,
why
cool
not,
thing.
right?
Yeah, yeah, something like
Or maybe
that.
just like more social emotes, like more options for like meet and greet or talking with somebody, or even just flailing your arms about or something like that. I
Uh,
think that'd be cool.
yeah, yeah, some cool things like that. I want them to add more expressions, and I want the current pool of expressions basically to be what they say. A lot of the times I put in an
Hmm.
emote like, slash laugh, and then you get a chuckle, and then I'd put in slash chuckle, and then you get like an explosion of laughter. And it's like, I want them to be more specific with their definitions of emotes. Smile and grin are the exact same thing. Then why do you have both? That sort of thing. So I'd like them to change the emotes a little
Hmm.
bit. So it's a bit more generic and actually stays to the definition. Because, of course, a grin and a smile aren't the same thing. I mean, not to an RPer. That's not acceptable behavior there. So yeah, just work a little bit more on the emotes and have each emote do a specific thing and never have emotes do the same thing because that's always complicated.
Yeah.
So yep, that's it for emotes. And what's your opinion on the current operation of emotes? We've just done that, I think. And then future emotes that would improve the game's RP. We've done that too. Wow, we've covered emotes.
We're
All
awesome
right.
at this.
Yeah, we are. We're basically like hitting three birds with one stone here. This is remarkable. So new content, new forms of RP, new systems. What we'd like to see. So how can they improve RP combat? Have the rolling system. You may not be too familiar with this. We do slash roll, and then it chooses a random number. Do you know about that?
Yes, like decisions and where's conversations turn out, you'd like slash roll, and whoever won would go with like their decision or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's basically how RP works. I know not much of an RPer. I come from more of an RP background, so I know more sort of about how this works. But
Yeah.
yes, in combat as well, you'd instead of doing dueling, you'd have RP combat, so you'd roll. Because of course in dueling you do damage to each other. So what happens is you end up accidentally killing the other person, and it ruins the RP, that sort of thing. Or you end up force pushing them off a cliff.
Right.
Basically something like that. So the way I was thinking, what they could do is they could have like a form of RP combat, which takes us back to this RP HUD idea we had. And what happens is when you're in the RP HUD maybe, and you go into PvP mode, both people are immortal. So you can like fight forever and just use your moves on each other and show off the animations.
Right.
That sort of thing. So maybe have like an RP combat added to the game. So you don't have to either do slash roll, and it's like, oh, he rolled 24, that guy rolled 54, but therefore we will have to pretend he did that amount of damage to him. Whoa, he's crazy. That's just, for a game, we kind of want to have it where you're capable of actually seeing the animations. So I'd like them to add maybe an RP combat. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't want your RP combat defined by RNG. That sounds like kind of sucky, to be honest.
It is, but some up on Ebon Hawk and Progenitor on EU, basically you get RPers who want to sort of get it as accurate as possible, and they believe chance is the best way to do that. So all of them use that system. And I've been in RP guilds that were really good, and then suddenly they said, "Oh yeah, we use a roll combat." And then I go, "Great, I no longer like this guild." So it's that sort of thing. Okay, so moving on, how can Bioware make SWTOR more RP friendly? Because I think Bioware at the moment, as we've discussed, is probably very against RP. They provide more for the PvE and PvP players, much
Yeah.
more than they do for the RPers. So how do you think they can make it more RP friendly? This is the last RP question, by the way, because I know this is a department you're not involved in. But yes, how do you think they
Um,
can?
how can they make it more RP friendly? Try and give me an example here of like something that you find difficult at the moment, I guess, for RPers.
Well, at the moment, the way it works is you don't get anything for RPing. I know it's like something you don't expect to get things for, but to say if you do a really cool piece of RP, you don't get much for it. There's no process of it. So you have everyone walk in, and then there's no rewards, there's no like achievements, anything associated with RPers. So I'd like them to maybe
Right.
add like a reward system for RPers. So it's like if you stay on in your stronghold for 12 hours typing, you can have a cookie or like a special emote. You know, it feels like there's no point to it in terms of progression. And if you have nothing to do, going and having like a fun little RP session is always good. But you kind of want them to add something to it, make the game more RP friendly. The way we were saying about these bosses, where you could put your bosses in the stronghold, you could have it so you RP fight bosses and then get stronghold XP, and get command XP from killing the
Hmm.
bosses in your strongholds. And then, people could grind that, I guess. But you see the idea. Making it so RP is actually, there's a point to it. That sort of thing.
I see what you mean, but honestly, I'm really struggling to find a way to make this better.
Exactly. This is the devs, of course, will be struggling. This is a harder thing, but if the devs sat there around a table for a while, I'm sure they could come up with something.
Yeah.
You know, something that makes just the game a bit more RP friendly, because you don't get anything for it. You make these big RP guilds, you get like 80 people in them. Everyone comes to a room and sits around a table, and all of them talk and chat and whatever, and all of them get these huge backstories going. But it's all a waste of time. It's like you're better off just grinding in solo or doing veteran modes, Fallen Empire content or Internal Empire content. I just like them to make the game a bit more RP friendly. I feel
Mm.
it's a very tough thing to answer. This is probably the hardest question on here, but I feel that's something they just need to sort of consider, trying to make it so there's a point to RP, and that's just
I
me
mean,
being a huge RPer.
as a fellow player, I'm going to agree and say, if the people who do RP, are really struggling with what it is that they're trying to do in the game, then for sure they definitely should improve it. But I personally, really don't care.
I don't RP. This isn't my thing. I don't bother. Just you guys just go in your lonely room and talk to yourselves. Have fun,
Pretty
guys.
much.
So yeah, that's it. That is the whole of topic 1. We've covered PvP, PvE, RP, and gone over most of the content in the game. Pretty cool, isn't it?
It's pretty cool.